Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Phoenix Rise podcast. If you're new here, welcome to the tribe. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. I'm so happy that you've come back to join us. So if you're new in my world, welcome. This is the place where we talk all things spirituality, mindset, and business. I know, and business, right? Because you get to have it all. There's no sacrificing over here. It's ambition and awakening, spirituality and success. 3D and 5D, because you were born worthy. Now, today you're in for a treat. I am still on my high of having incredible guest speakers on the podcast. You guys have been loving it. I've been loving the feedback. Just powerhouse after powerhouse, and we continue. So today I've got the beautiful Dawn with us. Dawn is a lady who is a fellow speaker on the Women Thrive Summit, where we're both speaking at next year on the international stage to empower women everywhere with our unique messages. And Dawn, I would love for you to just introduce yourself to everyone.
Oh, thank you, Claire. It's so good to be here across the pond. I love it.
What time is it where you are?
8:30 a.m.
Okay. So it's not too terrible.
It's not too terrible. I do a book study at 7:15 a.m. So I was up and ready to go. No problem.
Please do tell everyone about you.
Yeah. So I'm Dawn Gaydon. I'm a licensed counselor. I'm certified in complementary medicine and wellness. I've been doing my work for 23 plus years. I'm also a yoga teacher. I'll just rattle off all those.
Check the box.
Intensati leader. It's a real unique practice with movement, mantras, and meditation. I discovered that practice out of New York City. It puts everything all in one, like all the mind, body, spirit practices all in one. And I use, I have an office, so I see clients one-on-one, private coaching clients, and also therapy, as well as creating my new group coaching program called the Image Shift. So I really work with people on self-image, really seeing possibility, really moving through the yuck of life to get to where we want to go. So I'm not a traditional therapist, and my clients told me that early on. You're not a therapist. I'm like, what am I? You're like a coach. And I'm like, this was way back when. I'm like, I don't even know what a coach is. Well, they're like, you help me see possibility. Excuse me. You help me get to where I want to go. You don't let me just whine and complain. I'm like, well, that's no fun for anybody. No, whining and complaining. We want to create the life that we love. We want to get to that abundance. Opulence is like a favorite word of mine.
Love that.
Feel the beauty of life. And so that's what I help my clients do in all areas, through our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions, like all of it together. And it's really fun. It's a lot of fun to do the work I've been doing. So I've been doing it for so long.
Oh, I love it. So for everyone listening, as you probably know, if you've been around before, if you're watching, by the way, I'm moving around. Look, so I got this new wobble stool, and it really is wobbly. I don't know where to go. So me and Dawn have not prepped what we're going to talk about. I like to just trust that the right messages are going to flow through us. So if you're listening for a reason. Something is going to be channeled through us that you need to hear. I have no idea what it is yet. Dawn has no idea what it is yet. So let's dive in and see where it goes. So Dawn, I'm just thinking now, where do we want to take this conversation? And I love what you said about the image shift and about becoming, right? And this is what I talk about a lot, becoming the person that you're here to be, becoming, in my case, for my audience, the visionary, the thought leader, the industry leader, being that level of energy, of frequency, that you are able to hold that identity and truly embody it without, the imposter syndrome, without the self-sabotage, without the whole kind of being stuck and paralyzed by fear. And I would love for you to dive into a little bit about this image shift and about maybe the tools and the intricacies of what you work with.
Yes. Oh, so fun. I love it. What came to mind first is a talk I did once I wrote it out. It was called From the Mud. And it was about the lotus flower, right? I was preparing for a talk actually, and it was really like a yuck. I presented to a group and they're like, Dawn, that's not your words. You got to clean this crap up and really write from your heart. And I write about my story, my journey through cancer. And I'm like, okay. And sometimes that can be, being from a helper, I put myself aside and I just like, let people feel, and I'm here to support. But I had to write from my heart. And so I wrote a talk called From the Mud. And it was about the lotus flower grows from the mud. And really understanding that we get all of our nourishment, all of our power, our energy from that mud. And so helping people, that's one thing I do with clients, is help them see the mud, like grow from it. Like, don't get stuck in it. It's there. Like, we don't ignore feelings. We don't ignore the pain and trauma. We cry, we get angry, but we move through it. We don't stay there. And I'm a visual learner. So I teach from pictures. So I always think like, again, the mud, right? You feel yourself growing from the mud. And then many clients will get to this place of, but then what? Well, that's the fun part. You get to create what you want. And I want you to think about this foundation. Like, now I get to create this foundation of confidence and love and excitement and joy. And then see that foundation you're building. And then if you get knocked off, because this is the human experience, like things happen that we can't control. So we get knocked down, but we get back up to that foundation. So I take a lot of my clients through meditation, breath work, movement, even, because that, like, we're all energy. Everything's energy. A thought is energy. When we're feeling sad and depressed, we feel it. When we're excited and happy, we feel it. So really understanding and getting to know the feelings, and then choosing where you want to stay. Do you want to stay in sadness? Give yourself a day. If you want to be sad about whatever, give yourself a week, but you choose it. Choose how long I want to be here. And then I'm going to decide to be okay, be in kindness, be in love, be in gratitude for what was, what I have, what I had, and move in the direction of your dreams.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I actually have a massive tattoo of a lotus flower on my ribs. I won't get it out now, but I do. So I'm all over that. And, again, it ties in with, my brand's called Phoenix. It's the same analogy, right? It's rising from the flames. It's going through what you have to go through, but knowing that on the other side of that is the life that you truly want, is the life that you truly desire. And I like to think of, it's alchemizing our mountains to our message. It's using those pains and turning them into our purpose. And it's transmuting that and alchemizing it for our benefit, not for our hindrance. And when we can learn to stand on top of our story, right, and not in our story, when we can stand the other side of it, where we've healed and we've got to the other side and we've learned the lessons, and, we're no longer stuck in the victim mode of it, that's when we can help others through our experiences. And I would love to touch on, Dawn, that you obviously talked about your mountains with cancer. And I don't want to go too deep into it, but what I want to touch on is I resonate a lot because my story is from an abusive relationship, right? And I think this is really important. What I want to touch on here for people is that your story, so whether you have, been in an abusive relationship, whether you've overcome your own health problems, it doesn't mean that you can only help people through those things. Right. So I am not a counselor or a therapist for women from domestic abuse, just like you're probably not a cancer nurse. Right. This isn't the point. But the point is what we learn through that, who we became through that journey. And it's learning what those lessons were, right? Finding what those lessons were, and then how you can utilize those for the people that you do want to help. And Dawn, I would love you to just touch upon that a bit and how you kind of worked through that with your own journey and your own hurdles.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's interesting. So long history, which is another podcast. I just wore the hat of helper, always helping, self-sacrifice, which I know through my cancer journey, that was the lesson for me to like face it, Dawn, and be done already. And part of it was when I was diagnosed, my kids were 2010 was my first diagnosis. of twins that were 5. And then I had a 7 and 6-year-old, like something like that. They're, 4 boys. And I'm like, we're not telling the kids. And I'm not telling anybody. I told my mom, I didn't tell my siblings. My mom shared the message with my permission, but she's like, I'll tell people. I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen, right? Like, I'm not putting on a victim hat. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to put on my smile and my little superhero cape and just be okay, right? And I learned that that's not how you get to the other side. It's not how you get through the mud. That's not how you do it. And so I found a support community that helped me talk it through with my children, because being a therapist doesn't mean I'm excellent at, when things are this close to you, right there in your face, you can't always see clearly. And so how to communicate something like cancer with my children, and how to handle it when one of them said, are you going to die? Like, and the cancer that I went through, it's a lymphoma. So it was one that wasn't necessarily going to kill me, is what they said. It would come up every now and then, which 3 times I've gone through treatments, but I was able to handle those questions. And then discovering, like, my spiritual practice is, I pray, like, okay, if this is what's coming into my life on my path, what is it for? There's a purpose, not just for me. I don't think any of us are alone. And so then I started exploring and being open. Who needs this story? Like, there's, you tell people, if you know anybody, or if you've been on the other end of this, or whatever end you've been on, when you say the word cancer, people's faces are like deer in headlights. It's like, it's humorous to me now because it's been how many years out, but it's, when you say it, there's many people that go like, and they just want to, like, be okay. It's like, no, it sucks. Cancer is not a great word. It terrifies the crap out of people. But I got to a point where I'm like, this has to be talked about, because there's so many people out there that I feel alone, and we're not meant to be alone. And so as my journey continued, that's when I discovered and found out a speaker coach. And I thought, oh, I have to speak on a stage and share this story, because again, I just guide, source, power, God, whatever, spirit, show me the way. And there's a speaker coach. And then I feel the goosebump, like, okay. But I'm like, really? Is that what I'm supposed to do? And when I share the stories, there's always somebody who said, thank you. And I'm like, well, yep. Thank you for me being on this path. Grateful for me listening, even scared to death, right? Scared to share this horrible journey. But that's what we're here for, is to show up and share, because we're not alone. Yeah. We're not alone.
So. I love that. And I think, for everyone listening, again, it's realizing what your message is, right, from your lesson. So, for example, for me, in that relationship, I felt like I couldn't speak my voice, right? I couldn't speak my truth. I couldn't say what I wanted to say. I couldn't be who I wanted to be. And I kept myself small, because if I didn't say things, it's kind of like the kid at school who's always getting picked on for, answer this question. And if you hide away, you think they're not going to pick on you. That's what I did. And I kept myself very small in hope that I wouldn't be picked on, that kind of analogy. And so for me, my message and how I help other women now is about empowering them to stop playing small, to start stepping into their power, into their light, and start playing big, start taking up space, start being who you're here to be. And that's through a personal journey of domestic abuse. You can see there's no, on the surface level, there's no kind of similarity there, but it's about the lessons that I took away from that, what I was meant to learn, so that I have the tools to be able to help other women do that for me in their entrepreneurial lives, because that's my passion. That's what I am passionate about helping women with, because that's where you get to experience the most freedom, right? That's where you get to be the creator of your life. You're not playing by someone else's rules. And that's for me, fun, freedom, and fulfillment are my core values. So Dawn, I would love you to share, what did you feel was your message or your lesson that you learned through those mountains that you're here to help other people with?
It's it's so similar to your message, which is just empowering you to speak your truth. I mean, that's what I found, right? Like, isn't it like, Claire, I bet you find the same, where it's like really similar. Like most people, I just can't find their voice. They're afraid to speak up, to live their truth because of what they were taught, what society, whatever baggage we carried, or whatever message we were told. I was supposed to be the good girl. I was supposed to be the quiet girl. Girls don't do math, blah, blah. Those are some, and so we stay in this space, and it's like, we have to like take up, like you said, take up space. And that's what we do in the Intensati practice. Like it's a movement class. It's high energy. It's not, so we add yoga, but it's like take up space in this class, in the safe place to like feel what it feels like, to let your heart shine, feel what it feels like to be you.
I love
and
that.
It's so important that we do, like that's what in my program is, the image shift is about self-image, right? Like at the core, when I look in the mirror, do I see the love? Do I see the light in my eyes? Do I see that what I'm here for? And oftentimes, and you probably have found it too, women go, oh, when they see a reflection. No, part of the practice I teach is look in the mirror, just look in your eyes and just say, I love you, or I'm okay. I'm okay. If getting to love is like
yeah, it's that point of when you look in the mirror and all you do is the negative talk, right? It's like, like for me, it'd be like bags under my eyes are getting worse, or like my wrinkles, or, my teeth is always a big one. And it's, it's all the negative things. Never, never do we look in the mirror and we're like, love you,
Yes.
like you're perfect just as you are. And that I think takes, it's a journey, right? That in itself is a journey. And you guys listening, that might not feel doable for you right now, in which case just aim for neutrality, just
like that.
being. If self-love is too far at the moment, just come to neutral. Just step away from the negative and just come to neutral and just be in acceptance rather than the self-loathing and the self-deprecating. One of the worst things of all, right? Well, I'm going to get in there before someone else does. That does no one any good. It's like being the martyr does not help it does not help your self-confidence, your self-worth, your self-love.
Right. And it's a practice. That's why I think the Intensati practice resonates with me, because it's a practice. Often I'll have people say, well, Dawn, when am I going to get there? I'm like, you got to practice. It is a journey, but we have to practice. You have to practice looking in that mirror. And when you catch yourself going, you just stop and smile and then walk away. Just, can you pause there and practice the smile in the mirror and walk away, then walk away? Or, Mel Robbins, she does like this high five habit.
Yeah, high five. Yeah.
Yourself in the mirror, like, hey, great day. Just something to get you up. Because I think on the David Hawkins, and I know Esther Hicks does like a emotion scale map of consciousness. And I think neutrality's in there. I'm trying to remember. But can we get up, just move up the scale, just keep moving up and get to the place where it's like, I'm aiming for joy. I'm aiming for love. Good. I'm just moving up. And today it's just a neutral, I'm here. I'm okay. Great. Like celebrate every moment, but practice it. Sometimes we wait for motivation. We wait for inspiration. I say no. I say create it. Get in the space of what would it feel like to be inspired today?
Yeah.
If you sit that even a minute, you get
curiosity. It's like the great place to start, right? The curious mind of like you said, Dawn, how would it feel if I loved myself today? How would it feel if I was kind to myself today? How would it feel if I didn't doubt myself today? And you can use that as a way to hack the system, hack into your subconscious mind and get it to start looking for those answers. Because when you ask it a question, it has to find you an answer. So if you're asking the right questions, then it's going to give you those right answers that you want, that are going to help you move up that scale. Like we're saying, I love the way this is going. This is kind of like a self-love, self-worth talk, but this is great. And do you know it? I think it's so needed. I don't think that I've had a guest on the podcast talking about this kind of stuff. So I feel like this is the message that we're meant to share today. So Dawn, let's go back to your journey maybe around self-love and how you transitioned from, you know, being like most of us are in the whole kind of not liking ourselves, negative self-talk, not feeling that we're good enough, not feeling that we're ever ready enough to do what we want to do, to be who we want to be. Maybe just share a little bit about your journey from then to where you are now.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. My young journey started out with a mom who needed me to be her best friend and to be her caregiver in a sense, so that like codependent relationship. And I have siblings. I'm the second of four, two girls and then two boys. And my mom had her journey and I was there to be her support. So my parents were wonderful people, I have to say. And from people looking in, they'd be like, you have the best parents ever. Yeah, they're pretty good. We have our ups and downs. We're normal. But on the inside, there was this, Dawn just makes everything better, right? So I was ignored in a sense, or that's my experience. Yes. I didn't really get to be who I wanted to be. So it wasn't about what does Dawn need and how to love yourself. It was how to take care of mom, how to be emotionally there for mom. Not appropriate, right, as a young child. But we don't know this until later. But my journey went to, well, hey, I'm really good at helping. Let's go into therapy and psychology. Did that. Well, the beautiful thing in the program I chose was that, that's just my beautiful opulence alarm. The journey through the practice I chose, counseling degree I chose, which many might be the same, where I had to do a lot of papers and a lot of work on me. Who am I? And therapy. And this was before coaching. And then after coaches came on board, I'm like, ooh, coach. The journey continues and the practice continues to be like, I'm worthy. I matter. And the big wake up, like several wake up calls, but the one wake up call I talk about is that the cancer journey, because there was this, how that happened, I'll tell you a little bit, because that's about the self-love, is, we had twins. So this will be a real quick story. Twins. And then we have 4 boys. So we bought a house and then my husband lost his job. And I had created this life where I'm going to get my degree, my license to do therapy and do part-time while my children are young. So I can be at home with my children, raise my children, and then start my own practice and work. And it was a perfect plan, right? Until things happen, like, you know, husband loses a job. And then like, well, I can go to work full time. And I did. Save the day. Not that it wasn't necessary, but who knows, right? But the journey was Dawn's going to raise her hand and save the day and fix the problem, even though in my heart and my self-love was stay home with your children. We'll find another way. It was no sacrifice. And so there was this day where I was driving to work and I said, God, you got to help me here, because this I can't do. Like, I'm ready to escape my life. I was not suicidal. I was depressed. But I wanted to leave. I just wanted to just keep driving. Like, I remember being in my car. I'm like, I could just disappear into the world. Like, Mike will figure it out. The kids will be okay. Like, nobody needs me. I'm useless right now. And it was like, and I had this jolt, like a little angel went, wake up, Dawn. And it was like, no, there's another way. There's another way. Well, you know, like, just there's another way. And the self-love in there was, after I was diagnosed with cancer, after that moment, I had to make a decision. If you stay in this job, it's going to kill you. Whether this cancer diagnosis says it will or not, this job will. So what can you do for yourself that would be loving and kind, no matter what? Like, if you just relied on and you believed in what you teach, you'll be okay. So I quit the job. Mike still wasn't working. We relied on support. And it was like, I love what I do, but it was the best 2 years ever. I took 2 years off work. I always worked since I was 16 to buy shoes and have a car. And so that was huge. And in that 2 years, I got to discover, what do I really want? How do I really want to keep doing my work? Because I was still drawn to like do this work, but how do I do this work in a way that I'm still loving myself? Yeah. And so that was the journey. And that's when I found Intensati, and yoga was before that. And it was just practice saying no when I need to say no, yes when I want to say yes. Practice.
I love that. And I love what you just said then about knowing when to say no and when to say yes. So this is a massive thing that I talk about as well to my clients, my audience, is you can only know what to say yes to and what to say no to if you know where you're going, right? If you know what your purpose is, if you know what your North Star is. And I talked about this yesterday on a podcast with someone that came up again. So this is obviously a message that needs to be out there. But it's like, if you don't even know where you're going, how do you know what opportunities you should be saying yes to, what you should be saying no to? If you have all these ideas going around in your mind, how do you know which ones are meant for you and which ones aren't if you have no direction, if you have no compass? So I would love, how did you find that North Star? How did you find that internal compass to know your path, to know, which opportunities to say yes and no to?
Meditation. I call meditation my magic pill. Meditation is my magic pill. When I was in college, I had panic attacks and anxiety and insomnia, and I found meditation when I was 18, and it calmed the chaos. Because when we're in chaos, we can't see our star. We can't see the North Star. We can't see our nose in front of our face. So in meditation, we sit in the stillness, whether it's a minute, 5 minutes, because I'll tell people, start with 1 minute. If you've never sat and just with your hand on your heart and just breathe, 1 minute, 60 seconds, start there, just start, practice. And then you get clear and you're like, okay, just show me, like I always say, show me the way, show me what I need. When I ask, I'll ask if I'm in the right business, because, business has its ups and downs, right? Doing the work we do, helping, is a service. It's hard. And so whenever I have that, pause, show me the way, I'll get a message. I have a client and someone from across the world that will message me and say, thank you for your live. It was saved my life. I get those. So in the stillness, meditation, find those ideas and those,
I love that.
Your purpose. Yeah.
I love that. And I completely agree. And I have a whole podcast about meditation and about how it changed my life. But for those of you listening, if you haven't heard that episode, it's when you're a very analytical person, you're in the 3D world, you're very kind of strategic, you're very focused, you're all about that kind of world, the masculine energy, right? That was me, 100%. I was all about the strategy, all about, the tangible steps, all about the do, the hustle, the grind, all of that. And I was one of those people that said, I do not have the patience to meditate. It was a label that I wore with pride. I was like, I don't have a patience. I'm far too busy, like busy is a badge of honor. And it's like, but we get caught up in this belief, in this culture that busy equals success, that, impatience is somehow a good thing. And it's like, actually, if you allow yourself to question where that belief came from in the first place. Why do you believe that? Why are you wearing that label? Why is that part of your identity? And then allowing yourself to question it. Again, that curiosity, right? Who would I be if I didn't believe this? Who would I be if I allowed myself to try meditation? Even for me, it was like even allowing myself to try, because I'd never even tried. I was just like a flat out, nope. Not for me. I'm a Virgo. Hell no. My brain's always on the go. That was honestly what I used to say. Yeah. But when I had my spiritual awakening, when I went through all of my mindset work and I became the new version, right? The visionary, the thought leader, the empowerment coach, when I became that person, meditation was a part of her life. And I had to bridge that gap, right? I had to go from being who I was to this person. And the only way to do that is to start integrating the things that this future version of you does. And so it was like, I have no choice. If I want to be this person who this is digressing a little bit, but who I had met in, Quantum Leaps, and I had visualized being that person, this kind of stuff, which again, other podcasts you can listen to on that. But because I knew who she was, what she did, what her routines were like, all of this stuff, there was no choice. If I wanted that to be my reality, There was no choice. I had to start choosing to take on those qualities, to take on those habits, to build the new paradigm that would allow me to be her. And so the point is if you're listening and you're like, oh, meditation, that's not for me. I've been you. I've been you. And allow yourself the grace to try. Because if you don't try, you don't know. You're just discounting things from a belief that you have harbored as your own, but you've actually no knowledge of what it could do for you. So just allow yourself the grace to try. Who knows?
And there's no wrong way.
Pardon?
There's no wrong way to meditate.
No.
When people get into, I'm not doing it right, reach out to or me, and we'll let you know that you're let go of the judgment. You're doing it. You're just doing it right. Like it.
Even like Dawn said, even just trying for 60 seconds, it starts your journey, right? It starts that momentum. It starts that progression. It starts that movement. And you can't move forwards if you don't take action. That's the kind of the crux of the matter, right? If you can stay in the wanting and the yearning and the desiring all you want, but if you're not going to take action, you're never going to make it happen. So at some point you have to ask yourself, what do I need to do to bridge this gap, to go from who I am now to who I want to be? And I can tell you now, the answer is not doing more of the same thing. Because that's just going to give you more of the same you.
Oh, so important. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Dawn, I feel like we've digressed a little bit there, but sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent. But I would love you to let's kind of share some top tips that you have for people listening to start their journey of self-love, self-awareness, self-worth, and really embracing becoming the person that they want to be. What would be maybe your top 3 tips for them?
Yes. Okay. So meditation would be 1. Number 2 would be writing, and there's a system to that. It's easier for people to write what I don't want, right? Like when people come to my office or when I meet with a client for the first time, what do you want? Well, I don't want to be miserable. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be stuck in this relationship. So get clear on that. Perfectly fine. Write out what you don't want, then throw it away. Like rip it up, burn it, shred it, let it go. I release this. I'm done. And then I want. What do I want? What do I want? And then the ultimate is I am. And I know that takes a little practice, but writing those I ams. I'm at peace. I'm abundantly blessed. I love my life. I'm in the body that I take care of. I nourish myself with good thoughts and good feelings, like I ams. And then you can use that, actually, those mantras, those affirmations for your meditation. Because when you're sitting in meditation, you have these thoughts going. You can go, oh, I am. I'm at peace. I'm at peace. I'm at peace. So that's 2. 3. The third one, I would say, look yourself in the mirror and just say, have a great day. If I love you isn't there, you're awesome. Yeah. You're amazing. Or just smile. Just changing your physiology, like changes your energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so just smile in the mirror.
I love that. That's, absolutely beautiful tips. And I just want to touch upon the one that you said. What was your second one? It was, before I am, you said,
I want.
Oh, I want. Yeah. How many people don't know?
Yes.
They don't even know what they want. And so what happens is you're like this ship lost in the night, right? And you're just kind of floating around with no direction, no course. And this goes back to what we were saying about knowing your why, knowing your North Star, because if you don't know that, you just float. You just don't really get anywhere because there's no destination in the sat nav. There's no compass to even know if you're going in the right direction or if you're off course. So for me, I just want to touch on that and say, like, my leaving tip for today is know your why, know your North Star, find that purpose, because everything else then you can work backwards. But if you don't know that, it really doesn't matter what other work you do, because you still don't know where the hell you're going.
That's so true. Yes.
So yeah, I love that. Dawn, this has been so beautiful, and you have so much wealth of knowledge. I'm sure we can do another episode at some point and just dive in even more. We've only scraped the surface, I know. So where can people find you?
Yes, thank you. This has been amazing. I love the conversation. You're doing such good work for the world. I'm grateful. So my website is super simple, dawngayden.com. And there's a complimentary gift for you. It's called Unleash Joy. It's a three-minute practice. It's teaching you in 3 minutes. So my website has all my information, in-person, global prep programs, dawngayden.com.
Beautiful. And we'll put that in the show notes as well. So if you're driving or anything, don't panic. Don't like suddenly start trying to click things and crash. Just like come to it later. It will all be there. And again, if you've listened to this podcast, if you've listened to this episode or watched it, whenever it is now, you know, we're recording this, 15th November. Oh, it's 1414. And you could be watching or listening to this, God knows when, right? Years from now. Just trust that you needed to hear something in this message. Maybe it's something you've heard a million times before, but it's just landed a little differently. It's just made you curious about something differently, right? So just lean into that. What was the message that you got today that you needed to hear? And as always, I love to hear your feedback. Please do let me know how the podcast is helping you on your journey. If there are takeaways, you know, I love hearing from you. So please do let me know, reach out to me. You can access me in all the links in the show notes. And until next time, remember to love yourself. Thank you so much, Dawn.
Thank you.